Hello everyone, I'm 13-year-old Libby. I don't like 21 Pilots, but an emo, energy drink consuming, link smelling boy in my scout group does, so I'm systematically learning off their entire discography in order to impress him. Nobody has told me I'm shit at maths yet, so I think I'm going to be an astrophysicist for NASA. I don't really like astrophysics, but I'm really interested in the secrets that NASA are keeping from me. I like to know everything. I really love to read, and I've just finished my first run-through of the Twilight books, and it's not yet occurred to me that I will write something I love as much as I love Twilight. I met Paul in Scouts, where he was the most annoying person in the room. He would play his shitty music on his shitty smartphone through full volume, and unfortunately, I still know all of the lyrics to Mr. Brightside. But it's okay, because I was the second most annoying person in the room, so it was pretty much a match made in heaven. Paul thinks that me reading is really cool, and I still love him for that. I love romance novels and reality TV and skinny jeans and Imagine Dragons, but what I really, really want, more than anything in the world, is to be cool. I want to be interested in cool things, like vegetarian food, and Adidas clothing, and manga. So I'm kind of having an identity crisis. I think that's why I first joined the creative writing class. I was living in my stepdad's dad's house, and it was the first day of second year. I was pretending to be hungover because I thought that was cool. I was flicking through the free magazine, and I saw that there was an advertisement for creative writing classes. I'd never done anything like that before. Up until this point, I kind of hated all of the extracurricular activities that my parents forced me to do. Swimming, sailing, violin, choir. They were all taught by people who were put under pressure by the parents to make their kids scholarship ready. We were put under pressure to perform well, to do tests, to produce things. And then I walked into my first creative writing class. There was biscuits on a long oval table, and people were throwing things at each other. The teacher had tattoos and was talking about Drake's music to a 15-year-old with a mohawk. And they were talking to each other as if they were equals, which I'd never seen before. We were given a prompt and 5 minutes to write. And when I started writing, I couldn't stop. I was on fire. This was amazing. Finally, I could write about all of the things and no one would interrupt me. So, even though it was my first class, when the teacher asked who would like to read out what they'd written, I volunteered. If I were a piece of clothing, I would be a pair of odd socks. Not matching, not stylish, only comfortably fun. I live in a place belonging to plain white ankle socks. They are thrown away, forgotten, until you have nothing better. Fluffy and covered in polka dots, I will never have the heart to throw you away. Not matching, not stylish, they are the ones you will be remembered for. Thank you. And then the others read out what they'd written. And oh my God, I was astounded. These people were real writers. They'd written about their granddad's white starched linen shirts and the first panties that ever stained with period blood. And I was so jealous. I wanted to have what they had. Very soon, Saturdays 2 until 4 became my favorite part of the week. Saturdays 2 to 4 became my favorite part of the week. It was the first thing I'd ever decided I wanted to do all by myself. I didn't do it because I thought it was cool. In fact, I didn't tell any of my friends about it. I didn't do it because my parents thought I should, and I certainly didn't do it for my CV. I did it because I loved it. And even though I was a pretty good writer, I wasn't the best in the class, and I barely ever wrote outside of the class. But I was starting to suspect that maybe I wanted to be a writer. But I didn't think I had the self-discipline for it. I didn't think I had what it took. So instead, I decided to focus on my boyfriend. Even at the time, I knew my relationship with Paul was not normal. We were too intense for each other. He had a lot of feelings, even more so than me. He was intelligent, but he was emotionally immature. He believed that because he had experienced pain, he automatically had something interesting to say about it. He had beautiful, delicate features and never carried my school bag for me. He was my best friend. Paul represented to me how interesting life could be. Not necessarily nice or easy, but interesting. He made the good girls I was friends with in school seem so boring. I mean, they weren't allowed to wear makeup and still played make-believe games, whereas I did my eyeliner and mascara every day and had red hair. But even though I didn't know it at the time, I was also playing make-believe. Paul was the first person that I had adventures with. I mean, this kid had enemies. He got in fights, he smoked cigarettes, he'd had friends who'd had sex, and I loved all that. So Paul convinced me a lot of Saturdays to skip the creative writing class and go loiter in the book centre with him or buy the cheapest thing off the menu in McDonald's, which I always had to pay for. I wish I'd gone to those writing classes. I wish I'd given myself a shot at being a real writer, but I guess I loved the way that I felt around Paul. It was so different from my life with my friends and my parents and at school. It was bold and messy and dramatic, and even though I didn't know it at the time, what I was searching for was good writing material. That wasn't supposed to be funny. Turns out I hadn't fallen in love. I had been crushed. Paul's third-year Christmas exams were too stressful for him, so he dumped me because the relationship was too much to handle. What falling in love felt like, I wouldn't know until I turned 17. My name is Libby. I hate my name now. I'm 17, nearly 18. I write poetry about how no one loves me and listen to sad Hosier songs on repeat. I've had a lot of different friends, but none of them have ever really stuck, so I think I'm just going to hold out until college. I'm sure I'll be a completely different person then. I'm trying my best to be a good person. I buy my clothes from charity shops. I try to do yoga every day. I do one shift a week in an old man pub, which I don't really enjoy, but I'm saving up so I can go on holidays next summer. I don't have a favourite colour, food, book, or TV show, because I normally just pick whatever my latest boyfriend will be impressed by. I still like to read, but sometimes I force myself to read classics just so I can say I've read them. I love to light incense and drink tea and smoke cigarettes in beautiful places. I love dancing and singing. Sometimes I get depressed, but I'm trying my best to be happy. Oh, sorry. Hi, Mom. Yeah, no, I'm fine. Yeah, I had McDonald's earlier. No, yeah, I'm just with friends. You don't know them. Yes, I will, I promise. I promise I will. Okay, Mom, bye. Sorry about that. The two most important things about me right now is that I don't eat and I'm in love. His name is Taylor, and I met him at an over-cheaters debate competition. He is rude, skinny, arrogant, smokes weed. I'd have married him the day after I met him. We met 2 weeks before the first lockdown, and so we spent hours upon hours on the phone to one another, locked in our childhood bedrooms on opposite ends of the country. We think we're going to meet in a month, but turns out we're destined to meet at 6-month intervals for 2 years. He is my first love, and we actually only ever met 6 times. Kids in the internet, huh? I stopped listening to 21 Pilots and started watching Quentin Tarantino movies because they're Taylor's favorites. I don't really like them, and then I feel stupid because I don't get them. But I've also started watching movies by Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, which I absolutely love. And I've also started watching YouTube videos of writers who live in big glamorous cities like London and LA and Cork, and it just seems so glamorous. Once again, I'm drawn to the lives of writers. But when I tell Taylor about these movies, he scoffs and says I should consume art that isn't just sad writer girl who lives in New York. The writing classes that I'd love so much had been moved to Zoom, and going to them was the very last thing that I wanted to do. The whole point of the classes was the spontaneity of them, the feeling that anything could happen whilst you're there. So I disappeared. I stopped answering text messages and emails. I stopped writing except for love poems that were about him. For 2 years, my entire life was about him. Every decision I made was based on what I thought he would approve of. I totally lost myself and became unrecognizable. Sometimes I imagine how different my life would have turned out if I kept going to those writing classes. And of all the times in my life, I find this part the most difficult because I was so lost and I didn't even want to try find out who I was because I was too obsessed with trying to get Taylor to fall in love with me. Once again, I'd chosen a boy over my writing, and I'd chosen somebody else over myself. Love is only relevant for a period of time. I remember the day he told me that. We were breaking up for the 100th time, and I was crying and telling him I was never going to love anyone the way I loved him. And he said, love is only relevant for a period of time. Like, what the fuck? I said, love is always relevant, no matter what. And he was going to be in my life forever. I slept with someone else. Well, actually, no. There was no sleeping or cuddling. I had sex with an asshole, and I did it to make him jealous. He had done the same to me, and when I found out about it, I couldn't get out of bed for a week. So I decided to get revenge. We were having this massive fight, and I was telling him, if he didn't want me to fuck other people, then he should tell me he wants to be with me. It was a normal established fact in our relationship that I was in love with him, but he told me he was not in love with me. But then, so we're having this massive fight, and I'm screaming and crying, and all of a sudden he goes, fuck, Libby, fuck, oh my god, fuck! And I'm still angry at him, so I'm like, what? And he says, I got the scholarship. I'm going to Canada. And even though I'd been crying before, a whole new type of crying began. Uncontrollable from the pit of my stomach. I had to put my fist in my mouth to stop myself from screaming. I tell him, that is amazing, and I'm so happy for him. And I can't wait to visit him. But none of that happened. The last time we saw each other, he kissed me and told me that he loved me. A month later, we decided things would be better if we didn't talk. And then I had nothing. I had distanced myself from everyone. I couldn't go back to the writing classes. I couldn't even go back to writing full stop because what was the point in writing something if he wouldn't read it? He told me he would never leave me, and then he left. I'm 21-year-old Libby. I am still in love. I am in love with putting honey in my tea. I am in love with red lipstick. I am in love with crisp white hotel sheets. I am in love with things that only I have experienced. I finally figured out that I could love something not to seem cool or interesting, but just because I love it. It wasn't easy starting college. I made friends and then I lost them. I drank too much, smoked too much, ate too little, worked too hard. I thought this was what college was supposed to be, you know? I thought that by staying out every night and going to a different party and oversharing to strangers, it would make me cool and interesting. God, I thought I must be the only college student in the entire world who didn't enjoy staying out until 3 a.m. every night. I guess I also thought that I could turn myself into a version of myself that he would finally fall in love with. Maybe if I was more interesting, funnier, smarter, thinner, he would finally love me. But in trying to become someone that he would love, I became a shadow of myself. I wasn't interesting. I was depressing. I wasn't smart. I was argumentative. And most of all, I wasn't happy. Being someone I thought he could love didn't make me a happier person. I'm so sorry.
I was lonely enough.
Okay. I was lonely and lost and heartbroken, and I hated Dublin. All of the massive buildings and how no one ever wanted to make small talk with you. I had nearly nothing in common with my college friends. They all had fancy cameras and photography accounts and a sense of style, and they knew who they were, and I had no idea. So one night, I decided it was time to figure everything out. Who the hell I was and what the hell I wanted. I should really clean my flat, try to make this beautiful, try to make it work. It isn't working. I miss Taylor. It's my phone. I'm addicted to my phone. No, it's society. It's society and everything wrong with society. Ah! It's time to start again. Maybe all we need is more time. Like, we think the second we feel happy, we're just magically healed from our heartbreak, but it doesn't work like that. We're told not to dwell on the past, but I've learned so many things from the past. So maybe I will buy the 21 Pilots violin. Made in 2009, it was old even then when I loved it. What am I saying? I still love it. And I hate that I only love it because I wanted to impress some boy, but how many poems did I write to those songs? How many times did I cry, my head buried in their music? How many times did it make me feel like I mattered, like I was important? So much of my personality is based on relationships and friendships that didn't work out. My coffee order, my political leanings, the way I do my eyeliner. These people aren't in my life anymore, except for the unconscious salute I give them every time I do something I once loved about them. So I will buy the vinyl, even if my cool college friends will think it's cringy. Because maybe when I am a bigger woman, I will have a daughter, and she will find that vinyl dusty, and I won't know that she did, and she'll play it, and she'll never tell me that she likes it, but she'll love it. And we'll be connected by this music that so many people loved. Eventually, I did start to write again. I got COVID at Christmas time and had to spend 10 days in my childhood bedroom. So I wrote a short story about a haunted house. That was supposed to be funny. So I wrote a short story about a haunted house. Writing soon became a way to pass the time, to distract myself. But after my self-imposed quarantine was over, my newfound love for writing was not. I started writing poems and boring college lectures and articles and personal essays for magazines on campus. And it turns out I hadn't lost my touch. Sorry, again. Mom, you gotta stop holding me. I got into the writing class. Out of all the English students chosen, I was one of 10. Ooh. The cute guy turned out to be Leo. He is the quietest of my boyfriends, and the funniest. When I first met him, I had been depressed for about 6 months. I'd spent 6 months fake laughing so much, I forgot what it felt like to actually find something funny. And then when I met him, I couldn't stop laughing. I found Trinity to be overly serious and competitive and formal, and Leo is the opposite of all of those things. He told me when I was being too pretentious, and told me when he didn't understand what the hell I was writing about. Very soon, too soon, we moved in together. We had fights because I liked my stuff all over the place, and he liked it nice and tidy, and then I accused him of trying to suffocate me, and then he called me crazy. But we made forts in the living room and split bottles of wine and tubs of Ben & Jerry's over candlelight. He is the first boy who introduced me to his parents, and as terrifying as they are, they welcomed me with open arms. It's so funny how time works. When I first got with Leo, I was so worried that even though my mind had moved on, my body hadn't, and that when we were having a fight or having sex, I would accidentally say Taylor instead of Leo. I was worried that my response to these grand and elusive feelings was Taylor, but it turns out not to be the case. Taylor finally told me everything that 17-year-old Libby wanted to hear, that he was in love with me and that he wanted to be with me. But worse than being upset that it took him so damn long, or being sad that we couldn't actually be together, I literally didn't give a shit. When I told my friend, who knew me when I was with Paul and Taylor, that amazingly I'd fallen in love again, she said, "Oh my God, there's hope for us all. I never thought you'd get over him." I'm still trying to take myself seriously as a writer. The house I live in is the cleanest college house you've ever seen. Everything about my life has changed since I first walked into that creative writing class. My hair, my body, my clothes, who I love, the way I love, where I live, why I live. Everything except my writing. I still write in the same passionate and sporadic way, almost exclusively at nighttime. I still barely edit what I write and clearly don't learn off my lines. Everything except, and I still am writing about the same thing that 13-year-old Libby wrote about when she went into her first creative writing class: love and belonging.